And welcome back for round two of the top 8 debate for top Rio Grande Games. As always, this is the Everyday Board Game Podcast, and we are going to be discussing round two, which was Carcassonne beat Puerto Rico,
the number one seed.
the number one seed. Power Grid, number two seed, beat Raw, the number one seed.
Seven.
Number seven seed, sorry. Underwater Cities beat Stone Age.
Three seed versus six seed there.
Mhm.
Underwater City being the three seed.
Yep. And El Grande beat Dominion, fourth versus fifth seed. El Grande was the fourth.
Seed, Dominion the fifth.
Yep. So with that being said, round two, we're going to be facing off starting with Carcassonne and Power Grid.
Honestly, let's just go to the tiebreaker on this one because I can't argue Power Grid. I just can't.
I could. Do you want me to?
I mean, you could, yeah.
All right, let's argue it. Then, well, okay, yeah, let's go to the tiebreaker because that hurts me. Because there's one very strong point that I wanted to make towards Carcassonne, and we'll get to that here soon. Is there any that are immediately obvious? Ease of play.
Ease of play
is Carcassonne. All right. Paths to victory.
Carcassonne. There's a variable path of victory because you can lay out the farmers and get your points that way, or you could try to take control of a city, get your points that way. Be monks. Put your people out to become monks and score your points that way. There's different ways that you could do it. Power Grid, you just have to be smart about how you do your resources, but you're just trying to make sure you make the most of the points.
Yep, and how's that? Okay. You know, I was going to argue for Power Grid on that, but you actually just won me over on that one. And you're arguing for my favorite game, so, you know, I'm not biased at all. So, paths to victory.
Strategy, I would give to
Power Grid. Yeah, Power Grid as well. Meaningful choices would also be Power Grid.
Yeah, there's a lot more meaningful choices.
So we have two of each, and it goes down to art and production. Now, let's talk about this for a minute. Because as far as the art goes, Power Grid, I like the art. And I'm saying that I do like both of the art. The newer version of Carcassonne, the colors are a little hard to see between the gray and the brown, or the green and the brown. That's not too big of a deal.
We're arguing the Rio Grande version, which I have right over here.
Yeah, right, which are a little more clear.
Yeah.
Here's where I think Carcassonne beats Power Grid in one main factor. Well, first off, Power Grid paper money. Secondly, I just remember that right now. Carcassonne has big, thick, chunky tiles. Where, granted, Power Grid has a board, and the card quality is actually really phenomenal. It's a nice linen finish. It's really good. But Carcassonne invented the meeple. And let me tell you why that matters. In Carcassonne, when you're placing down your meeple onto the farmlands, you need to represent that it is on the farm and not, like, just nudged over to the road or in a town. How do you do that? You lay it down. Could you do that with a pawn? No. Could you do that with a cube? No. They had to invent a new piece that was specifically showing as a farmer. That would make sense.
Just that becomes a staple in board gaming because it was created.
Yes. And that, at the time, that was revolutionary. Now, granted, Power Grid has resource tokens, which are wooden painted pieces, which are meeples, basically. But the fact that Carcassonne invented an industry standard as far as the production goes.
Yeah, no, I can't disagree with you on that production, just because of the industry standard, which, I mean, any worker placement game that you play has meeples in it, really.
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
If you look over on my shelf, I don't know if you can see it because Danny's screen is in the way, but viticulture meeples. Not horrified. Where I'm trying to look at my thing over here.
Charterstone.
Champions of Midgard meeples. Charterstone meeples. Any worker placement. The only one that I can think of that I'm seeing is Locked Up, and that's because they have to have hidden movement or hidden in there.
Hidden variables.
Powers. Yeah.
Where, like, El Grande, for example, they made that change from cubes to meeples and included all the meeples in it. Now, they're mini meeples, sure, but they had to do that. and even the cards on that, and in cacao, the tiles have the meeple
Meeples
shape
on it.
to
Yeah.
represent that is the workers you send out.
Yeah. No, it's
How great is that?
yeah. No, I'm gonna go ahead and give that one to Carcassonne. I knew I was gonna move on to the finals anyways, just because we both enjoy the mess out of this game,
Yeah.
and there's a reason why it's a gateway game. It is an important game in board gaming and for Rio Grande.
Yeah.
This is one of the games that really put them on the map.
Yeah, it really did. I don't disagree with that. All right, so Carcassonne moves on to the finals.
I think this is the first time the 8 seed has made it all the way to the final.
Probably. Wouldn't surprise me, and that's just because. Now, like I said, I have a very strong bias towards it. So at one point, if it seems like I'm pushing my bias too much, just remind me, and I will try to step back from it and take an impartial look. Just because it's my favorite game doesn't mean that it has to be the best. If that makes sense.
No, I get you, and that's the same way I feel about Gloomhaven. But Gloomhaven, when we talk campaign, Gloomhaven just was the better campaign because
right. Yeah, which makes sense. All right, Underwater Cities and El Grande.
This is a tough one for me because I like both of these games.
Yeah.
This is like, why are these brackets doing this to me?
Yeah.
I had my two favorite on the list go up against each other in the first round, and now you have two more of my favorites go up on the list in the next one, and then in the finals, two more of my favorites are going to go against each other.
No. Here's the weird thing for me is like just looking at the back of El Grande reminds me why I want to play El Grande again. Underwater Cities, like I would play it again gladly if somebody's like, hey, let's play Underwater Cities. Cool, bring it out, let's play it. But that's the only one of these 8 games that I don't own, and I haven't had a huge incentive to go out and buy it either.
Yeah, let's see. Out of these 8 games, I only own one of them.
Carcassonne?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's true. I thought you owned Stone Age. I mean, I guess not, but huh.
No, the same person who owns Underwater Cities owns Stone Age. I don't.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we'll have to fix that. You used to own Power Grid or Puerto Rico, right?
No.
Oh, I thought you did. Okay.
I played your copy.
Okay. Fair enough.
The only thing outside of, and this is including my honorable mentions that I've owned or own, is Carcassonne and Rattlebones.
Yeah. Okay. That's true. You've only previously owned, so you've really not been as much of a fan as I have, which is fine.
Yeah, no. That's why I let you do this top 8 debate.
Right, I know.
I know you really wanted to do this one. I'm like, okay, I'm not familiar with a lot of their games. I don't own many other games, but sure.
Yep, which is fair. All right, let's talk Underwater Cities and El Grande. Do you want me to take El Grande?
Yeah, I'll take Underwater Cities because that's the easiest one for me to argue.
Okay, go for it.
So, Underwater Cities, again, my favorite mechanism, worker placement. This is a worker placement game that just I enjoy the mess out of. You got your card placement, you got your worker placement. You want to make sure you where you're sending your worker, you match the card this way you can get the bonus off the card. It's resource management as well. You're trying to make sure you're producing a lot of stuff to actually build up your underwater cities. To me, it's a pretty game. It's pretty. I understand the arts and production problem with it, like the paper, flimsy player area and stuff like that.
I don't like the worker placement as far as production goes. Like, I don't like the tiles.
I get it. I understand why they did it that way, just because of the way the boards are played, because you want to play cards on them as well. So this way you can just place it over there and lock that facility up, basically.
Yeah, I just, personally, I don't like it.
I understand the choice on it. I'm not a huge fan of it either.
Yeah.
It's colorful. I love the resources in it. The kelp. What is it? Let's see. I actually have a picture pulled up here. It's like kelp.
Science or something.
Science, yeah. Kelp science. Of course, credits, and then you have like. I can't remember what the stars are. Those are like the wilds. My big problem with that production is the way they integrated 3 for like a bigger turn this in to get 3, and it's like 3 side by side fanned out. I'm like, just make a bigger cardboard pieces rather than the small ones for ones. Make
right.
just because they're hard to stack and they're hard to put away.
Yeah, that's unnecessary.
Yeah, but all in all, the CGE pieces are in there. Those little, I want to call them mints. They look like mints, like Altoids.
Yeah.
Honestly, there's a lot going on for this game, and a lot of choices in this game. If we're going meaningful choices, this has some massive meaningful choices in there. Long-term strategy.
Oh,
You got your long-term strategy. Variable path to victory. You are allowed to pivot if you need to.
right.
I mean, it's got a lot going for it.
Yeah. We could go to the breakdown because I'm going to talk El Grande. I forgot about this piece. The dial. That one's pretty fantastic. I mean, you have the tower, that's built up, the Castillo. This is pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
Yep. You have the massive El Grande pawn, which is huge as far as pawns go. You have all of the meeples, big and small.
Well, see, this is unfair. I can't pull out Underwater City stuff. I don't own the game.
Right. Well, neither can I. I don't have it either. So, El Grande, as we will go to the tiebreaker because we're gonna have to. But El Grande really has a lot going for it. When you play these cards, let me see if I can pull them up real quick. Yeah.
So, before we go on, just to mention, guys, if you hear banging again, it's just because my dog had surgery and she's got the cone of shame on. So.
Oh, yeah. So when you play your card, everybody has the same cards that they're going to be playing, basically. And here's just an example of like one of the expansion cards. It has a number as far as which turn order it goes, but it also has the number of meeples that you get as well. And then it has a player ability. Now that's cool because also Underwater Cities has those cards as well. Like they have cards that have a lot of variable powers, but they're specific to just like one ability. Where this, the whole thing is card driven, but it's also area control, and it's very impactful. The choices in El Grande, I am excited to try it again because each of the regions, the adjacency is a big thing with it, but also those random tiles that come out of how much each of those are worth, and also who moves the El Grande piece to determine which is scored and which is not scored. That's awesome. That the whole thing is so immersive as far as that goes. Where Underwater Cities, I like the heavy Euros. I think it's Vladimir Suchi who made this one. I like his designs. Everything I've played of his.
And he goes such random designs too, because the one game I do own of his is Pulsar
2048?
2849.
2849, yeah. That's going to be a long time before.
Name, but yeah.
Yeah. And it looks cool, and it's definitely like his style. I have Last Will from him, which is such a weird idea. You're trying to spend your money quicker than everybody else. Like, who does that, right? It's such a cool idea, and I really do like his designs, but there's something about this original El Grande that's really strong on that. So, let's see. Is there any that are immediately obvious?
Ease of play.
Ease of play? You're thinking El Grande?
I'm thinking El Grande.
Okay. I'll give you that.
El Grande is so much simpler. You play a card, it gives you this, it gives you a power. The familiarity mechanism, Underwater Cities, worker placement at a hard, but there's so much going on as well. So you're playing the card, trying to get the bonuses off those cards. It's a lot.
Yeah.
This one is like you put your people out there, you play your card. This gives you more people to put out there in the power. So
right. Let's talk about meaningful choices real quick, and I want to see what your thoughts are on this. Do we feel like meaningful choices? I feel it's El Grande, and the reason why I feel that way is because the only thing that interacts with other players, in Underwater Cities is the worker placement, and there's ways to mitigate that. So ultimately, you are playing a multiplayer solitaire game. So
yes and no.
In a way, right? I mean, it's
in a way. Because you're building up your own city, but there is a lot more player interaction, not just the worker placement part. The card play helps too, the bonuses, but it's not mean. That's the thing. It's
right.
Not what people want for player interaction. Yeah, it's the worker placement is the main part, but there is other.
But there's not much player interaction other than that. I mean, like a little bit with the cards, but not much. Whereas, like in El Grande, the choices I have starting off is
also,
which
most
card.
of these other games on here, so
True, but like all of the choices, like in meaningful choices, there, I need to go to a worker. I need to get certain resources to build certain things on my board, and I need to be able to play the cards adequately. That's What else is there on there? I mean, that's mainly it, right?
But meaningful choices, just because there's not player interaction, doesn't mean there isn't meaningful choices. Because I mean, we're not talking about this, but you bring in Castles of Burgundy, it's you're basically playing on your own board. Doesn't mean there isn't meaningful choices.
Yeah,
The way we do meaningful choices, how our choices affect the game. In Underwater City, our choices do affect the game.
they do, but wouldn't that mean then if my choices impact the game itself, my for El Grande, you have your choice of which card you play, how you disperse your meeples, how you move the El Grande, where the majorities go, plus the abilities of the cards that directly affect that. And I mean, I know I'm not trying to purposefully over or understate it for Underwater Cities, but as far as like which choices I have on my turn, I feel like
Mm-mm.
I feel El Grande does have it though.
No, because the meaningful choices in this one, a lot of it has to do with the worker placement. Okay, if you block me there, what's my backup plan? What am I going to go over here? If I go over here, am I playing this card to get the ability on it, or do I just burn a card that I don't need? This way, I can just get the worker ability.
Sure.
Just because there's not a lot of player interaction doesn't mean there isn't meaningful
Well,
choices
player
in this game.
interaction aside, like which one has more meaningful choices? Like I feel like the
Honestly,
choices.
for me personally, I think it's a wash because your actions are still driving the game. Yeah, you're putting your stuff out there, and it's going to interact with the other player because you're trying to get player control. But especially when it comes to long-term strategy, your meaningful choices in Underwater Cities are going to affect your long-term strategies. Are you going to play this right? Are you going to collect your resources right? Are you going to pay your resources at the right time? There is meaningful choices in Underwater City that you're
Mhm.
underplaying instead of overplaying. You're basically overplaying El Grande rather than underplaying Underwater City's meaningful choices. There is a ton of meaningful choices in this game.
Okay. All right, then let's go ahead and give meaningful choices to Underwater Cities then.
Okay, I'll give you that one
Okay.
because we got Isa Play, of course, going to El Grande. It's real simple. You're putting dudes on a map.
Yeah. Well, it's more
There's
than
more
that.
to
You're
it, but the
fighting for
mechanism is
majorities, and there's ways to control it. But
yeah.
long-term strategy, I feel, does go to El Grande, and that's because, like, if I, like, Underwater Cities, yeah, you have your goal of what you're trying to do, and it does impact that.
Yeah,
But
but what I said earlier, the big thing is
yeah,
if something happens, you're still allowed to pivot and still have a chance to win. So you're not stuck to that one strategy. You
right,
can actually turn it. So yeah, the long term strategy El Grande is you're thinking 3 moves ahead. If something blocks you in Underwater
sure.
Cities, you got a pivot chance.
So right now we have ease of play and long-term strategies both going to El Grande, meaningful choices going to Underwater Cities, paths to victory.
That's Underwater Cities.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, basically, because there's a lot of paths to victory
Mm-hmm.
uh, with Rio Grande or El Grande, Rio Grande, El Grande. It's basically
Area control.
area control. Who's got the most dudes on the map?
Yeah. Okay. So then now it comes down to art and production.
This one's tough for me. How because all the stuff that you showed up there, but the production value on the board and the cubes and stuff like that is great in El Grande. But those plastic pieces, the domes, they're
Mm-hmm.
really nice for me. And again, the thing that bothers me, my main bothersome with it is the player mats and the cardboard pieces. They're nice cardboard pieces, and just the way they stack
Right.
is annoying.
And then, like, if we went off of cover art alone,
Yeah,
that versus,
Underwater City is
fairly.
beautiful.
Yeah, and I like how they lay out the board. Sure, I like the old style map on this better, but the way
Yeah.
that they lay out the board, it looks like there's a cell phone sitting there, a device, all the different places. Yeah, that's impactful. So that means that it's going to Underwater
Underwater
Cities.
Cities.
Okay, I was not expecting that to
No,
be.
nor was I. I actually really do enjoy El Grande, and I know I'm arguing against it, but this is like one of the my brackets that we've been arguing.
Yeah,
There's some that I'm just like, whatever. Like Power Grid versus Raw, who cares? Puerto Rico versus Carcassonne. I don't like Puerto Rico all
yeah,
that much, but Underwater Cities Stone Age, Underwater Cities El Grande. It's like, come on, man.
yeah, yeah,
Like the finals, Carcassonne versus Underwater Cities. This is gonna hurt.
yeah. It's gonna be impactful. I know which one I'm going for, and I know which one you're probably gonna root for. Although you like them both.
I
We'll
love
find
that.
out
Yeah.
in the next round. So that was it for semifinals. Carcassonne beat Power Grid to go on, and Underwater Cities beat El Grande to go on as well.
The power of Carcassonne, the 8 seed, the final seed, took out the number 1 in the number 2.
Right.
And now it's going up against the number 3.
So we'll definitely see how that ends up working out. Tune in for the next round, and we'll be back soon.